to draw attention here.
Hey, hold on! You cannot escape! Another escape! Find anything? Hey! Die, worm! That's disgusting!
This area is off limits. Hey! Not going anywhere! Let's cut this
for village after village, and they cry in fear. But you are not scared, are you, Najai? Deal with this beast, Najai.
Le sue lavi tutti moscovi. We have this. Give me time to get clear.
Sad to hear this passing. But good news for you, his weapon was made for him specially. Perhaps you'll have better use of it.
study that's coming out of Northwestern University that used AI technology to identify groups of criminal police officers in Chicago that account for a disproportionately amount of misconduct. So what we do know comes to us via Vice. What they've said is that the study identified approximately 160 groups of officers referred to as crews. The identified groups consisted of less than 4% of Chicago's police officers, yet they accounted for about 25% of all use of force complaints, city payouts for civil and criminal litigations, and police-involved shootings. These crews generated about 18% of all complaints filed by Black residents and 14% of all Hispanic residents, according to the researchers. To identify cops who intentionally group themselves into crews, the researchers used data sources including complaints, assignments, and settlements to see which officers were involved in alleged misconduct, how often recurrent co-misconduct happened within the group instead of external to it, whether officers in a crew engaged in similar types of alleged misconduct, and whether there seemed to be well-defined membership, whether by age, location, race, and other attributes. Now, it may sound somewhat counterintuitive, but what we know is that the study's authors are arguing that this research, the findings here, that they fly in the face of this whole cop narrative that conservatives have been pushing for decades. Here's what the authors say. Police misconduct often center on a narrow notion of problem officers, the proverbial bad apple. Such an individualistic approach not only ignores the larger systemic problems policing also takes for granted the group-based nature of police work. Nearly all of police work is group-based, and officer formal and informal networks can impact behavior, including misconduct. And in the study, what they did is they identified 3 of Chicago's well-known groups, the SWAT group, Skull Cap group, and the Austin 7. And I have no idea how they get these names. But what we know for Vice is that the SWAT group became an integral part of the drug trade in communities it policed. More than 212 convictions have been overturned because of misconduct by the group, but only 2 officers have been convicted. 5 officers, 4 are still on the force, make up the Skull Cap crew, which built up 138 allegations of misconduct. Officers were regularly involved in many reported instances of excessive and unwarranted force, sexual abuse, and harassment, including strip searches, planting, drugs, theft, and false arrest, the researchers write. Now, the study, it is limited in that it doesn't dive into how the crews actually form themselves, but previous research is consistent with the study's findings. In 2021, the Financial Times New York and Philly and found that while thousands of officers in each city received at least 1 complaint since 2007, 10% of them accounted for a third of the complaints. And not to mention that there are other studies out there that have concluded that abusive officers tend to operate in clusters like little gangs. Jake, is this surprising to you?
Yeah. No, unfortunately, none of that is surprising. Cops acting like criminals when they're supposed to be catching criminals. Okay, look at it. And if it was really a few bad apples, and humanity is what it is. But that's not the situation. It's not like, oh, we can call 2 or 3 of them and then put them in prison and we're going to assist it. No. It's systematic. It's crews doing it together. And they do it all the time. Got away with it for decades. And then, even so, most of them go unpunished and they're still cops. What that says is that they're saying, well, he did his own kill. We don't mind. But if you want to do it again, the theft, the sexual assault, whatever else, and while you're all done, cops look away. If you're looking away, cops are looking away. So this is uncommon. This is very common. And the point they're making about certain crews, crews of cops that are their complaints in the intersection, creating a shared criminality. What that tells you
This is so incredibly... I'm not going to take orders, though, from an illegitimate president like Joe Biden. Arizona is going to do things the Arizona way.
The president you just heard from is Arizona's Trump-endorsed right-wing gubernatorial candidate. Her name is Karen Lake, and if you notice that graphic that Fox Business was showing, she appears to be the Republican frontrunner in the primary. Now, notably, she called President Biden illegitimate, essentially regurgitating propaganda from Trump regarding the outcome of the
Never. What grief has swallowed you?
We came to pay our respects to Icarus, to make an offering for him, to ride victoriously in the next life. But...
Gently now. I'm listening.
Blue ruffians came at us. They jeered at our sorrow. And when my family spat in their faces, they struck him down. They killed him. Then stole a bust of Icarus and ran. Now, my younger son, Gaius, has gone off towards the shore, chasing after those blue demons. I fear he'll join his brother. We came to mourn our hero, and now my family is destroyed. Please, Midnight, save my last son. Don't let his life end today.
Go back to your home. Try to rest. I will find him and bring him back to you. I should be cautious around here.
You will pay for it.
Quiet. I'm here to get you back to your mother. Time to go home.
Wait, bedside. This sacking box stole a bust of Icarus that my mother had prepared for the great charioteer's memorial. They threw it in the river to defile it and bring a curse upon the Brasina green racers. We need it.
Let me get you to your mother first.
No. You must retrieve it before it is lost for good, or else my mother will never recover from her despair. I can make it home. I am too weak to find the bust. Please, find the bust of my namesake and bring it back to my mother.
As I must.
Day. Folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene are growing as a threat to democracy. They're not just as bad as they were a few weeks or a few months ago. Because of all of the things happening around us, they are getting crazier and crazier and more dangerous. And because, as we've heard, maybe you've heard the unfortunate news that at least as of right now, she's not getting tossed off the ballot for the next election. She is lashing out, not just at Democrats in Washington, but really at progressives everywhere, directly threatening people, saying all of those people that wanted to take her out, all of those people that wanted to punish her, rightfully so for her role in helping to support and promote the insurrection, now she's going to get revenge on them. And some of her constituents are sounding the alarm.
Latasha, you have been working to mobilize black voters in Georgia. They helped turn Georgia blue, get Trump out of office. Marjorie Taylor Greene, meanwhile, was trying to overturn your vote, overturn your work. How do you feel?
You know, I am so deeply disappointed with what is happening in this nation right now. And it's not just what she's done in terms of not representing black voters. She doesn't represent America. And ultimately what she did is she's also the person who said that the Democratic Party, she equated the Democratic Party to Nazis. She came back and talked about like how this was like the Holocaust that had happened. And so I think that we have to really recognize how dangerous she is. So that to have the opportunity at this moment, she should be removed from office immediately. Not only does she not represent the constituents of Austell and Powder Springs, but she does not represent her district. She is dangerous. She's reactionary. She literally uses lies and untruths to really be able to elevate herself.
There's a lot that I want to come back to and unpack there, but before I do, Representative Wilkerson, I gotta ask you, how do you feel about being a constituent of Marjorie Taylor Greene's?
I think constituent's a strong word. The same way everybody in my district feels. They were shocked that the Republican Party decided to bring Marjorie Taylor Greene down into Cobb County by bypassing around Paulding County, coming into Cobb. So it was something that shocked us when it happened. And as Latasha said, she doesn't represent her constituents now. She's more focused on going to rallies, not serving on committees in Congress. And so as an elected official, the biggest thing we can do is help our constituents. And when they call about disability, when they call about unemployment, when they call about getting a passport, they need someone to answer that phone, and she has shown no ability to put that first.
Right, those basic constituent services are how most people interact with their member of Congress. Latasha, Greene actually told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution that she would have preferred for her map to become more Republican in the redistricting process. I just first need your reaction to that, and then I need to understand, this is a very, very red district. Is there any opportunity to organize her out?
I think we're going to have to really be able to push, the fact that she does not represent democracy at all.
So as you can see there, it's important to realize that Marjorie Taylor Greene represents more than just, really white, really conservative people. That there are people of color and that there are all sorts of folks in their district. And they feel especially ignored and abandoned by Marjorie Taylor Greene. They feel that she doesn't represent their values, she doesn't represent their community, and even on the technical level, like put politics and ideology and policy aside, she's a terrible representative when it comes to having your voice heard in Washington and getting phone calls answered and passport issues dealt with and all of that. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a failure at best and a menace to democracy at worst. And now she's openly embracing this idea that she is terrifying to many people in the United States, and she's leaning into it to make money and to amass power. Again, I've never seen this, where she is threatening her constituents. She is threatening people that typically don't vote Republican. And she, in this new round of redistricting, her district has become a lot more diverse than it used to be. And a lot of those black voters, if we're being honest, are Democrats. And she is threatening her own constituents when she said things like this. On Friday, Newsweek reported the far-right representative Marjorie Taylor Greene said in a statement that her critics are scared of the power she will have when Republicans have a House majority. Quote, Democrats have seen how hard I fight for America First values when the GOP is in the minority, so they are absolutely terrified to see me with the power of the majority, said Greene in a statement. Democrats know they can't beat me at the ballot box, so left-wing communist activists tried to rip my name off the ballot. And so that's not just her chanting around, that's not just her putting out this idle statement. That is a threat. That is a threat that I'm going to use my power to punish my enemies. Again, including a non-trivial amount of the people I'm actually sent to Washington to represent. And on top of all of this, Marjorie Taylor Greene is actively breaking laws. She is actively breaking some of the laws she wants to propose because she is one of these people that fundamentally believes that the law doesn't apply to her. She is that sort of hypocrite that wants the law to apply to her enemies, but never to her and her pals. For the law to punish the poor and the marginalized and the racialized, but never to punish rich white people like her. And one of the big examples is that she wants to ban proxy voting in Congress, even though she's used it dozens and dozens of times. It says here, the remote voting procedure was instituted in May 2020 due to the pandemic, despite uniform Republican opposition. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy led a failed legal effort against the proxy voting. And this is Marjorie Taylor Greene's vote. This is her bill that she's proposed. That's Greene's bill to eliminate it. But Greene has voted remotely 22 times and cast 135 votes on behalf of fellow Republicans, according to an insider review of over 700 roll call votes taken by the House between May 2020 and April 30th, 2022. So Marjorie is the worst kind of person. Let's just make that really clear. She is a do-nothing person that makes it all about herself. She wants to put forward laws that she doesn't even believe in and doesn't even adhere to, breaking her own law before it's even instituted. And you can say, well, it's not a law yet. But if you won't even hold yourself to the standard of a law that you're spearheading, it just shows you that you're a massive hypocrite. And let's be really clear. The biggest thing of all is this woman wants revenge on her own constituents.
It's simple.
Republicans and right-wing pundits are focusing on the leak of the Supreme Court's draft ruling overturning Roe v. Wade rather than the ruling itself. Meanwhile, more evidence is emerging that potentially links Donald Trump to the militia groups involved in the attempted coup on January 6th. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. The right has been trying to overturn Roe for 50 years, and in order to achieve that goal, they've broken every conceivable norm in their path and nearly detonated our democracy. In fact, they partnered with a monstrous demagogue who literally tried to overthrow our democracy. And as part of that Faustian bargain, Trump promised to give them the judges they wanted as long as they looked the other way during his many crimes and abuses. And for years, Trump has gone out of his way to remind Republicans of the judges he gave them in order to retain their loyalty.
I've always heard how important judges are. Now we know how important they are. I have 252 beautiful, brand new, conservative, wonderful judges. We have confirmed 191 brand new, beautiful federal judges. All those judges, those beautiful judges.
No matter what he's talking about, he makes it sound like real estate. We have so many brand new, beautiful, split-level judges, all new appliances ready now for easy booking. These judges won't last. Book a viewing today. Trump got the GOP over the finish line, but this plot is not unique. Overturning Roe has been a nearly singular obsessive goal of the extremist right for half a century. As Senator Elizabeth Warren noted after a protest outside the Supreme Court on Tuesday,
the Republicans have been working toward this day for decades. They've been out there plotting, carefully cultivating these Supreme Court justices so they could have a majority on the bench who would accomplish something that the majority of Americans do not want.
It's true, they've spent decades carefully cultivating these justices. They look like they were grown in a lab to overturn abortion rights. I mean, look at this guy. He looks like the dean who threatens to shut down the fraternity in every 80s teen comedy. If he had written the draft opinion, it would have ended with, we rule that Roe must be overturned, and also that a werewolf can't play basketball. Of course, it won't surprise you to learn that instead of responding to the substance that Warren and the protesters were saying, the depraved weirdos who make up today's Republican Party decided instead to mock the people who attended. For example, there's Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, who is currently under federal investigation over unpaid parking tickets. Wait, sorry, I read that wrong. Over whether he had a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old and paid for her to travel with him in violation of federal sex trafficking laws. And I'm sure he also hasn't paid all his parking tickets. Gaetz chose a line of attack that quickly backfired.
One lawmaker appearing to stoke the flames of controversy. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz tweeting, how many of the women rallying against overturning Roe are overeducated, underloved millennials who sadly return from protests to a lonely microwave dinner with their cats and no bumble matches.
It is very telling that you think overeducated is a bird. So what grade are you in? Oh, I'm a sophomore in college. Sophomore? Sorry, you're a little overeducated for me. Once you read Fahrenheit 451, you're basically a grandma to old Gatesy. And when they're not mocking protesters, they are, of course, pretending to be indignant over the leak itself, rather than celebrating the outcome, because they know overturning Roe and criminalizing abortion are deeply unpopular with a huge majority of voters. So instead, they want to throw the leaker in jail.
What happened to the court today was the saddest chapter in the history of the United States Supreme Court. This was despicable, it's dangerous, and it was dumb.
If that left-wing law clerk succeeds, it will be the most grotesque politicization of the Supreme Court in the history of our nation. You mentioned an FBI investigation. I hope there is a serious one, and I hope whoever is responsible for this not only is fired instantly, but is prosecuted and serves real jail time for violating the confidences of the Supreme Court.
There is no duo in history worse than Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham. You know who was a much better duo? Milli Vanilli. Or, as they're known in Supreme Court parlance, Milli v. Vanilli. Next time Cruz flees his state during a